Hey everybody, it's Danny here from Board Game Sanctuary. Are you always on the lookout for brand new games? Games that kind of challenge the way you think or make you feel something raw and emotional each and every time you play it? Well, I'm always on the lookout for those sorts of games. Hi, I'm a modern board game hobbyist from Australia who loves sharing my passion for this hobby with you, my friends, and my family. Come and join me on this journey as we have cozy, casual chats about modern board games and how they can enrich our lives. Hey Danny, guess what? Look at my new favorite board game. We've been wanting to play that game for ages. A minute, what happened to it? What do you mean? You literally just changed the board game that you were just holding. I'm pretty sure I've been holding this same board game the whole entire time. Before I dive deep into these 5 games, there's a common thread that has kind of woven into all 5 games, and that is when I'm on a lookout for brand new games, I'm always intrigued by how they might make an experience or a gaming experience feel different and feel fresh. So a lot of these games that you'll see coming up are games where there is a familiar mechanic that has been twisted in some way. This game has a cool theme of exploring new territories and exploring new places where you can potentially grow new crops to start a new civilization. This game is called Tiwanaku. Now, when I first heard about this board game, it was described to me as a blend between Minesweeper and Sudoku. So it is a puzzle game where basically you are deducing what numbered crops are going to be growing on different terrain groups that are spread across this grid board. Whilst the game has a very abstract feel about it, the actual deduction element of the game is actually quite innovative, something I've never seen before, and is actually something that I would compare to games like Wordle or even the Turing Machine if you've ever played that board game. This game has just a nice thinky feel to it. I'm looking forward to playing it competitively, where you kind of get in each other's ways, because part of this game is setting up the terrain spaces on the board and then placing your little worker there and then kind of just leaving them there until you've kind of set up your other workers on the board so that you can make a series of deductions all in one go to really accentuate the amount of points that you get in one big sweep. What I love about this game is at the beginning, you kind of have this open puzzle where you think, ooh, I know a few pieces of information, so I'll need to explore the area a little bit more, reveal all the terrain groups, and then once everyone kind of knows what the terrain groupings are going to be like in this game, that's when the deduction kicks in, knowing which crop numbers there are around it, the terrain sizes, then makes your brain go, ooh, what numbers could be in this position here? And what numbers could be in that position there? And part of this game is going, you know what? I'm going to solve this puzzle, and you're openly declaring what you think the crop numbers are. And then you're using this little wheel to check to see if you're right or not. And there is a big risk to making a big guess, because if you get it wrong, you actually lose points equal to the crop level that it's supposed to be. So you have to really be sure before you make your deductions. And I think this game just has a nice thinky feel to it. The game does come with 20 scenarios, but I know there is a link to the website which actually has unlimited scenarios. So when it comes to adding lighter games to my board game collection, party games are ones that I kind of enter with a sense of trepidation. I only buy them if I feel like they're the right fit for my friendship group, or there is an opportunity to play the party game that helps to break the ice in some ways. And so a lot of my party games that I have are either word deduction games or games where people have to kind of band together to solve a problem in some way. And so when this Spiel des Jahres nominated game kind of was announced, I was like, ooh, this game might be a perfect fit for my group. And you know, Party games are opportunistic. You know, some party games really go well over with a group of people and some don't. And so this is just one I thought that I could add to my collection, mainly because I loved a lot of the other games that came from this publisher. Games like Just One and So Clover have been a really great hit with my friendship group. And so I thought, you know what, this one might be a nice add. And the game I'm talking about is called Fun Facts. And I love the little tagline, no more secrets between you. So basically it's a ranking game. Basically you're going to have cards that come out that give you a particular topic. So it might be like, how much do you enjoy karaoke? Write a number between 0 and 100. Players are going to be writing their answers secretly on these arrow plates. And then around the circle, starting with the player with the star marker, players are going to be placing them in order, and they're going to be doing so by inferring what they know from the other people at the table. So, for example, if you've been best friends with this person for years and you know they love karaoke, you might think that that person might be ranked higher than someone that you definitely know has maybe very limited musical talent. So, it's a little bit more of getting to know you. It does draw on how well you understand the other players. And I think it's best played with people that you do know well rather than with a fresh group of people that you don't know. The next board game that's brand new to my collection is a game that I've been waiting for a long time. It's a game that's got a really cool nature theme to it. It's all dressed around these really cool Euro-y mechanics, and any game that kind of sells the idea of growing things or helping things to thrive and survive is definitely up my alley, and in Australia we've finally received it. Earth. Earth has been receiving a lot of buzz recently, and you know what? I can kind of describe Earth as being like Wingspan 2.0 or 3.0, because if you are a fan of Wingspan, then there are some elements here that are going to be really familiar. The idea of triggering your tableau multiple times is something that features predominantly throughout each and every game. In the original Wingspan, there was this really satisfying feeling of every time you placed your birds in a particular row and you use that row's ability or action, you trigger all the bird powers in that row, creating a cool engine. Here in Earth, imagine if one of those bird rows in Wingspan was turned into a grid and you got to trigger your grid every single time someone chose that action or triggered that action. That's the same sort of plentiful benefit that you can really enjoy from a game like Earth. You are going to be thrown a ton of resources. You're going to be thrown a ton of compost cards, dirt cards, things that grow right off your cards, sprouts. This game really amps up exponentially. At the beginning of the game, you're kind of like, oh, I need a bit more dirt, or I need to compost my cards a little bit more, and you're just slowly discovering ways to do things. But once you hit about your 8th or 9th card in your tableau, boy, does this game really fire off like fireworks. Everything just keeps churning, and it's like a little system of actions. I like to kind of describe it as a chain reaction of effects and bonuses. And what is really beautiful about this game is that there are only 4 actions that you need to know. And whenever someone takes an action, everyone else at the table gets some sort of bonus from that action as well, whether it's a lesser amount of sprout cubes or, you know, lesser amounts of dirt. And who would have thought that we could have been so excited about dirt tokens in a board game? And there is so many different combinations that really go together when it comes with a card game like this. Games like Ark Nova and Wingspan do it really well, but here at the beginning of the game, you're given your own climate card, your own ecosystem card, and your own island card, which kind of starts you off differently and on a different path each time you play. In the solo mode, you're versing a bot player called Gaia, and she has her own player board, and she really makes things tough. I think I narrowly beat her by a small margin, and I was playing on beginner mode. This game has so many different ways to score, and I love the use of animal cards, which are kind of like racing objectives, and I can kind of see in a future expansion animal tokens being incorporated into your tableau. So I don't know about you, but I think I've gone on a big group board game binge because this is the second board game on my list that caters for up to 7 players. You can play this at 2, which is a very different game, but this game is a deduction game that's dressed with this Egyptian theme. If you've ever seen the movie The Arrival, this is basically The Arrival, the board game. What you're going to be doing in this game is you're going to be splitting into 2 groups. One group will be playing the humans, which is represented by the yellow components. The other group is going to play the aliens, represented by the blue components. Before I explain how the game works, the game is called First Contact. This is a really unique game about language, understanding symbols, creating a cipher that helps you decipher the symbols, and then using those symbols to communicate something to the other players. The humans in the game are going to be tapping these item cards, very reminiscent of code names, to try and communicate one of these 25 words to the alien players. The alien players have the answers. They have a cipher which features those same 25 words and 25 symbols. And the aliens have to interpret what the humans are trying to say to them. Are they saying that these cards are representative of things that are big? Maybe they're food, maybe it's bright, maybe it's beautiful, maybe they're clothes. And based on that, the aliens are going to draw a symbol on this little card and then show them to the humans. And the humans are then going to try and deduce what symbols the aliens are referring to on this little deduction grid. Then the game amps up into another step. The aliens then use those symbols to try and get the humans to identify particular cards that are out on the field, very much codename style here. So this 3-pronged means sharp, this one means heavy, this one means defense. So this message written by the aliens is trying to get the humans to pick an object that is sharp, heavy, and also used defensively in battle. So there is multiple layers to this game. Not only are you deciphering the language using groups of word cards, but then you're using the language to communicate an idea. And it's this leveled, nuanced connection with vocabulary, language acquisition that just really draws me to this game. Next game that I've added to my collection is one that's quite deep, rich, very colorful, and quite thinky at the same time. It's part of the T series of Euro games, and if you're not familiar with the T series of Euro games, it's basically a series of board games that are all titled with names starting with T, and they're all themed around ancient civilizations. And the first game that appeared in that series was Zulk the Mayan Calendar, and the second game that appeared was Teotihuacan, City of Gods. Now I'm gonna need a lot of space for this, and then we had Tekenu, Obelisk of the Sun. We also then had Tabanusi, Builders of Ur. And the game that I've added to this collection of 5 different games, and I don't think I've listed every single T-Series games that has been released, there's a few more, and this one is Tiwan Tinsuyu. It is a Euro game, as you can see behind this wall, where players are going to be placing workers out on a pentagonal type structure to gain resources, appease the gods, and then also go and fulfill different conquests. My excitement for Tiwan Tinsuyu is basically driven by not only the previous work of this game designer, but my love for the T series of games. And what is really common about the T series games is that they often involve a unique mechanic of some sort. You've got this cool ancient civilization themed game dressed with multiple ways to victory, an interesting mechanic. So Zulkan introduced rotating dials. Teotihuacan introduced the idea of building a pyramid and using your dice as workers to trigger and power actions. Then you've got Tekenu, Obelisk of the Sun, which had an obelisk with rotating shadows that determined how you were going to use your dice, and you had to balance everything out. And Tabanusi introduced the idea of having little boats and seeing how you place your dice and influencing future actions and regions that you could kind of go to on the board. What has drawn me to Tiwan Tinsuyu is basically this cool worker placement theme. This does worker placement at such a really cool, intricate level. And this is a game that has a lot of things going on, but don't let that deter you. In Tiwan Tinsuyu, the workers are kind of similar to the workers that you would see in a game like Five Tribes. Each colored worker has a different kind of bonus ability. Now, on your turn, basically, you're going to have a hand of God cards, and the God cards have these symbols on it that match the very symbols on the entire board. You're then going to choose one of your two workers, and you're going to play a God card and then place that worker on the symbol that matches the God card played. Now, when you place your worker onto a symbol, each symbol is connected to 3 task icons, which are kind of like your actions in the game. So it might be gaining stone, gaining corn, or maybe weaving a tapestry. So whichever space you place your worker on, you can resolve one action. Now, this is where it gets interesting. If you place your colored worker in a space that's adjacent to another worker of the same color, you get to choose 2 of the surrounding 3 actions. And in addition to that, if your worker has a special ability and you trigger that ability, you might be able to get 3, 4, maybe 5 tasks to resolve in one turn, creating like a little combo effect. The green and blue workers, when you place them on symbols with their matching colors, you actually get a bonus task. The yellow workers are kind of like little explorers. If they go into a new region, they can kind of give you a bonus task too. The white workers net you extra God cards, which give you future options of where to place your future workers. And then the red ones are like warriors. It can help you to remove adjacent non-warrior workers off the board so you can use that particular color again or use that space again on a future turn. In addition to that, you've got this element of the High Priest, which kind of sit at this small little pentagon at the top of this terrace. And basically these priests influences how much things are going to cost worker placement on future rounds. So if your High Priest is in that little section that you want to place your worker in, it's going to be a lot cheaper than placing it in a section that's on the other side of the board. These High Priest workers also have actions that they can trigger if you move them around, and when they trigger, everyone can kind of take that action. The active player can kind of get a really good valued extra bonus out of that action, but all the other players can kind of opt in or opt out to whether they want that extra bonus or not. And it might be things like even going on a conquest, and there are 4 conquest regions around the board where you use your army cards, and basically it's kind of like 4 mini area control games. This game has a lot of intricacies to it. You've got not only the network structure of the meeple placement, you've got the color consideration, and you've also got the thinkiness of using the cards, and the God cards even come with bonuses if you have purchased matching statues. And not to mention, on top of that, you've got this cool weaving mechanism where you're building this tapestry and connecting bonus resources together. Probably say that my favorite T-Series game is Teotihuacan. Then I would say Zolkin the Mayan Calendar would be a close second. I would probably then say Tekenu would be my third. And then probably Tabanusi would be a fourth, with Tiwan Tinsuyu maybe at the moment in 4th place. So I still have to explore these games a little bit deeper, and these ranks might change. So what did you think of those 5 board games? Please let me know in the comment section below. Have you played these games before? Or maybe they're new to you as well. Now, if you're really intrigued about the rest of my board game collection, I have a whole board game list on my main YouTube page called Danny's Board Game Collection. Feel free to explore and peruse and see if there's something that jumps out to you. Otherwise, consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel for more cozy board game chats, and I look forward to seeing you in the near future.